start doing that today.
Okay, let's look at America's music, and I'd like you to, let's just kind of warm ourselves up and also look at your respective parts. So I know I'm going to lead the bass, tenor, alto, soprano, and I'd like you just to sing on a neutral syllable, da da da. Okay, just to give it the parts. And about 1, 2, sing. Okay, let's try now singing text on the second group. So, okay, just to get our articulators used to doing this verse. We're going to go faster now, just to vary the tempo about. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So in terms of singing, that's going to be a challenge of not just sort of automatically reverting to the first verse. Now let's do the third verse again. So obviously if you're conducting 1, 2, or 3, you as the conductor need to be fluent with this. And then we'll get better and better as we go. So now a little bit more moderate tempo on the third verse. So about 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we'll operate as best we can today with a couple of singers missing. But it's going to be your opportunity to, as ragged as we might sound, this is real life. You're going to get actual voices, and so the way in your mind when you're kind of practicing this on your own, this is going to be the standard that I'd like you to think in your ear, and that is, oftentimes when there's a small group that's learning music in a choral setting, or that is I'm not talking about you, I'm just talking about the real world out there. If you had a high school group that was just at the beginning of the year and it was a small group like this, tuning wise, it's easiest to put the basses behind the sopranos, the tenors behind the altos, so that you've got a mix of the trebles and the bass so-called bass sounds from the women against the treble sounds of the men, bass and fundamental sounds of the chords against the high outer part of the soprano. That's just a very traditional formation. There's lots of other ones, of course, just like there are lots of other instrumental ones, but for our purposes, we'll use it like this, so that when you're thinking, okay, the altos are moving here, there's the altos, there's the tenors, there are the basses, and there are the sopranos, just to kind of orient yourself that way. And these initial couple of days where we do this, it's like I was asking you to do with the double hand exercise. I want you to just get used to the idea, to get, okay, where's that sound coming from? What am I dealing with here now? More in the three-dimensional sound aspect. So, just an opportunity. I'd also like you to use the metronome marking that you've decided on. Does anybody have a metronome app on their? Great. Will you be our metronome woman? Sure. Great. Because I've got the list, and if you've changed it, I'll change that. Who would like to start, just to try this out? All right, Julio. And you are in what verse?
We are looking at the second verse.
And your metronome marking?
95.
Great.
I'm going to try to stick there anyway. We're in the second verse. Can we start over? Can I have my tempo again, please? I'm completely started slower. Okay. You can, thanks.
All right, so that's what it's like.
That's so weird.
So, number one, let's work out a little bit more specific roles for your left hand, so that, because the initial thing as you're getting used to the sound is just to do mirror most of the time. Right? That's kind of what we did. So now the modification, everybody, for the breath, rather than just simply do the same thing. One, ba, da, da. So this is, and now we're going to go to just a flick from the right hand, like on the end of the first system.
Okay.
So when you go, and the waves of grain, and then get the left hand out of the way.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay? So why don't you try that again? I'm
Okay.
sorry, I was using the wrong words.
Okay, so I actually want to connect between measures 2 and 3. So could I do? I was trying to like have my left hand guide that to keep going.
Right, and then what are you gonna do with the right hand?
I don't just keep the.
No, you're gonna show a connection between the
Okay.
ictus points, remember? So it's not that everything changes, it's just that now you've got this extra helper.
Yeah.
But we still wanna see in the right hand, because that's where we're looking for the ictus. The icti, and so if the icti just look like they're occurring the same way, we'll do the same thing probably. Other than loud and soft. But together, your right hand will define what it is that you're doing. You know, you understand what I mean? So if we see that connection with the right hand, we're going to assume that that's what you mean with the left hand as well.
Okay.
So,
Okay. I think I got it. Thanks so much.
oh, beautiful for liberating strife. Let's try that again. Let's try that again.
That's so hard. Okay.
Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country love, and mercy more than strife. Okay, good. I'm gonna stop you there. So now, can you remove the left hand from showing any icty?
Okay.
And all it's gonna do is either assist with cutoffs, or it's going to do this, but it's not gonna do this job at all,
Okay.
for now.
All right.
Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country love, and mercy more than life. Okay, now somewhere in the middle lies the truth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, lies a comfort zone. So you got rid of it, that was great. When you used it, didn't everybody think it was a little bit clearer that time? So, what then, if you choose to do this sagittally, that's gonna show us growth. This, remember the side to side thing, is more of a phrasal thing rather than so now, could you try adding that a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, more than self their country love, and mercy more than strife. America, may God thy glory find, till all success be lawless, and everything divine. So, how did we do with your dynamics?
I don't think I was clearly showing them, so you did great with what I gave you.
That's all right, that's all right. Okay, so now, judging, and you can watch this, but it's gonna be doing these horizontal left-hand motions, these vertical left-hand motions, and trying to keep the ictus out of it.
Yeah.
So that that's your goal, moving forward. And then, establish actual, maybe you do, but actual dynamic, terrace, or whatever you're going to have, levels on your phrases, so that it just feels organic, that your body is moving towards that place of retreat, if it's a crescendo, diminuendo, those types of gives you an idea of what this experience is like. Thanks very much. Who else would like to go now, or who wouldn't like to go? Fresh Next. No alto. Which verse are you?
Verse 1 in my temple reading of 72.
Did you say first?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what do you think, we were having the easiest time following?
The easiest time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we followed directives, we followed the, the overall tempo. I think we dragged a little bit. One of the things that it's now when you're up front, and this is for anybody, it's coordinating being early on the signals for the left hand or the breath or something, without being so early that then we can't read it. So you actually started giving us breath indications a full beat and a half or 2 beats before we needed them. Did you feel that?
Yes.
And that, it's just, okay, let's work this machine, and you're thinking about a lot of different things. Could you make the vertical axis a little taller?
Okay.
And so that we can really define where that middle of your pattern is.
Okay.
And nobody, the great thing about this exercise is nobody's gonna die. There's no stress. Right?
Yeah.
This is just practice. You're getting live bodies to sing for you. So there, why don't you refresh our pitch?
Okay. I have a question
Sure.
about just the, like, small breaths, like little cut-offs. Can I still just do it with my right hand? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were those really unclear? Or different?
Well, I think some of that will be fixed if we could really determine where the downbeat is in each bar.
Okay.
Because that's what I mean by the vertical axis. We're just losing track a little bit of where the downbeat is. Yeah, and this is for everybody. If you're doing a quick catch breath, the left hand doesn't even need to be involved in that. That's just a flick. The breath is best suited for help from the left hand where it's a full. Like when it's on beat 3, I think. And it's a half note. Is that what you even asked me?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, sorry for all the questions. For example, what Julio was doing, could you show me how to do that? Because
What was Julio doing?
so he was marking the beats with his right hand and then calling off.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, so if I'm gonna cut off on that very place that I said with my left hand, and then all I really need, because this is the place where we just stay at home, right? 1, 2, 3. That's all I need to do. is that they're doing two different things at the same time.
Okay.
You're just doing that. Okay?
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, try, remember that where are you, what beat is prep?
3.
Right, so start right in the center of your right at home, and then you go out to the right. You're already out to the right when you start. Oh, beautiful forsacious skies, forever waves of grace. Okay, yeah. That's okay, Laura. It's just that don't self-flagellate yourself. Everybody's learning during this process. So if I put this much, watch me. That's my ictus. I'm exaggerating here so you see. There's no way we can read the breath. So, beautiful, then we can. So, a little less, I guess, angular on the ictus will help us. You did better with the downbeat or with the vertical axis. Well, I can't talk today. Even worse than normal. And then, let's give it a shot. Oh, beautiful, spacious sky, forever waves of grace. Hey, one more thing, that's better. That's a lot better on the first issue. Second issue is, for any group, what the conductor should do is try to measure in their space how far it is from where there's no crescendo to where the highest dynamic is, right? So that if we gradually get there, and that's the height, so that I'm not there for much longer than that. Amber waves of grain, or purple, get it? So, let's try that now. Oh, beautiful, spacious sky, forever waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties of the fruited vine. From sea to shining sea. Sorry, but you see, while we were singing C, you were cutting us off.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So it's just coordinating those things, and practicing for a while for everybody. It would be real helpful if you just kind of map out in every measure where there's something to do. Where am I going to do this? And then slow it down, do the choreography, and then track it back up to tempo. But that gives you an idea of, I think you feel better about, okay, what do I need to do now? Thanks.
Thank you.
Next. Pain. Which verse do you have in?
Third verse.
Third verse, all right. Alabaster.
Yeah.
I like to say that.
And my tempo is 90. Do you want me to play the notes again?
Yeah, just much slower. So much of what, any of you are gonna do, any conductor does, is you override, and I don't mean you plug your ears and don't listen, we have to be listening. But you may get an overwhelming sense of, wow, that's out of tune, or this is funky, and then we start listening to those things, and it slows down the tempo. So, we exist to make suggestions for correction. So it gives us fodder for that. But don't be, this is general advice, don't be overwhelmed by the milieu of sounds. Because what's number one? Rhythm and tempo. So if rhythm and tempo keep going, we can lock in everything else. So, what do you have marked in your score in terms of, do you have the breaths marked in?
Yeah, so I have no breath.
Don't tell us.
Oh, I have nothing.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
No, I mean, you do have the breaths. Do you have any dynamic indications written into your score?
No,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Because that, then, for everybody, is where we need to go. So that if there's a goal, a phrase goal every time, where is that phrase goal, so that we can direct the choir toward that. So that's the next step. Cutoffs. Let's just try that. Let's have you do dimmed by human tears. Will you go that far? From the beginning to the third system in the middle.
Okay.
Your third verse, right?
Yes.
Tears and alabaster, great.
When we do get to dynamics, do you mark or do you use suggestions for every single phrase? Or is it just like?
No, only when you want variation from what the sound starts as. So, if everything in a whole line is mezzo forte, the next level then, if the dynamics are set, what could the next level be with text? What's the next level? If dynamics are at a neutral.
Then making phrasing.
But text specific.
Like paying attention to where.
Yeah, I'm going to the store. Text stress.
Yeah.
So where should it be stressed, where shouldn't it be stressed? Those are that's the next level of, conducting text is, okay, I've got a general dynamic, and then the little potholes in the pavement, where are there differences? So I don't think, let's not worry about that. Let's just worry about getting your breaths and coordinating those. Let's go to the middle system of the third, middle of the third system. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond our fears. I call the blessed city, one in my human tears. All right, left hand. So, here's my crescendo. Here's my cutoff. Here's my ham sandwich. I'm selling ham sandwich. I'm just kidding, but they must be very different, right?
Yeah.
So crescendo out for now. There's lots of ways to show that, but for now, our left hand usage out and down. Phrasing different, sideways, just to help us keep very specific motions for very specific things. And then, how rhetorically, folks, because I feel like I'm the only one talking to myself today. Yes, what do you think? Well, I think it's great. How might one, going from ictus to ictus, show like a heavier or a fuller sound versus a lighter or a thinner sound? What's one of them?
That being like the weight.
Yeah, the weight of your gesture. Resistance is a very important word, and that is what we all deal with in motion. Range of motions are basically no resistance to bound out, right? That's the way motions are. So if I show this looks like there's no resistance. Am I right? There's almost no resistance. So if I go, there's so much tension and resistance, it would be almost unusable. But somewhere in the middle again, so that if I want a fuller sound, I'm showing this to the group. That looks different to me than this. And so what we have been seeing from you the whole time is a very kind of light. So could you show us, just to try stuff out again, it's not like this is gonna be the dynamic you have, but to get at this resistance issue, which is what everybody will need to get to eventually, because it's where we show the differences in sound. So could you try more resistance between the ictus points?
Okay.
And see what happens. Oh, beautiful $1,000,000 baby. Sorry, I was trying to look at you and I was thinking about $1,000,000 baby. So that's better.
Okay.
I mean, not better, it just is different than what you were saying. I'm trying not to make qualitative judgments here, but if then you go here, the approach to the ictus, folks, more resistance. The rebound, a little more resistance. So we don't just add resistance somewhere, like it's everything. It's like we're caught in a vat of, resin, like the first Jurassic Park movie. And so can you pretend like you're kind of suspended in just about set Jello? But it's not so set, and you can move it. Let's just play around with it. Try it. Oh, beautiful forever. That's already better in terms of the comparison to where you started with. Does everybody see that there's a little bit more resistance in that? You didn't quite go to the vat of Jello, but that was pretty good. Okay, so I think that everybody needs to do a little more thinking and practicing in terms of what is it going to take, not just to do the basic things of, okay, I'm gonna cut off, but, you can sit down, I'm sorry. Okay. Let's do this. You sing for me. First verse. And. But going to such extremes, forcing yourself to, okay, I'm gonna make them watch me. Now, I don't think, okay, put a fermata here, put a big break there, and take ad libitum here. That's not what I mean. I'm just trying to prove a point. That there's a Come on. Come on. I'm not imitating anyone. But I don't care if my personality is like this. Let's say. get up in front of the podium in the part, I am balanced, I am acting, if that's the way you wanna look at it. You're on, you know, we are on. And so we suddenly have the posture that is balanced. We are not, you know, our hump is gone, everything is good. See the way my hump when I went over here, it's gone suddenly. I was like, was I really that? No, you were not, at all. So let's try it again, okay? But that is one of the most unique renditions of the piece I've ever heard. Good, but now try it again, same thing. So the difference in what I was saying, can you see it? In the resistance factor? That's what like you almost have to get up in front of a mirror and do it. Like, okay, I'm gonna force myself to look at myself. Believe me, I do this myself. I have all my career. And what does this look like? I know exactly what that looks like for me because I've been doing it so many times. And I know what this looks like. And I know, you know, so that's the next step for you is, okay, I wanna do this in the music. And so this is so far removed. I realize it's a huge jump beyond the double hand exercise and beyond the psychological etudes when we were just saying, okay, this is just get sound, just get silence. Now we're going right into, okay, real music, real structures, and the kind of sound we want, and the subtleties. But those things are just vehicles to get the really basic technical issues to work. This, knowing how to get breath connected to gesture for preparation activities. Knowing that when this comes on the stage, gives a cue, it has to get off the stage. Knowing like what we talked about with everybody who was up here, if this is the height of the gesture in terms of loud, that is really uncomfortable to watch in terms of, okay, I can't go any louder, you know, it's like what you start to do as a player or a singer is you get a little stiff. So this motion always frees people up, right? It does me. If I see something moving, then my mechanism kind of, okay, there's someplace to go, and the purpose, just like this. It's kind of fun to do, but I'd like you to, everybody understand what the task is. So I'm gonna be drafting people to do this. It'll be the Anderson list. It'll say something like, oh, Brandon will be next, and then Margarita, and Sam, and all those other people for next class period, okay? And we're going to, I'm not concerned about getting the double hand exercise on video until we're ready to do it. So, I mean, the schedule got blown out of the water last week, I know. But I still want to give you more time to run that with the group. And then all of us, I mean, I'm in the same way because I'm going to be singing with you too. Let's all just look at these verses, the second and third verses, and the reason for that isn't anything other than so that the conductor is not dealing with, oh, beautiful, and then tuning goes, and so on. think I'm gonna leave it right there for today. Okay? So Thursday is this. We're gonna start Thursday with the double hand exercise, and then we'll continue with this issue. As soon as you can you start writing in, I feel like I need to say more be careful about what I'm not trying to say. I don't want you to come in with your scores so marked up that you can't read them. But just very subtle, like let's say you have one dynamic marking per system and breaths. If you have 3 or 4 words in the whole piece where you've underlined or put a tenuto on the note, or a crescendo diminuendo, so that that note, that text, like for example, oh beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain. Let's say that's the only word in that whole phrase that you want. For purple mountain majesties, above the fruited plain, America, that one's easy, right? America, that's God shed his grace on thee and crowned thy good with brotherhood. It would be completely different in one of the other verses. Patriot dream that sees beyond the years. We could have 6 people come up with different words in that phrase too. But that's what I mean. Maybe one kind of under goal. But the whole phrase is crescendoing, or the whole phrase is diminuendoing, or the whole phrase is crescendo diminuendoing. So just that kind of marking, and then of course your breaths. All right. If you have any questions, send me an email, call my agent. I'm failing as a teacher. I just wanted to